And the one thing I want to emphasize the most is safety. You know, you'll have opportunities to do shoots in places that you've never been before, or that you've, you know, in situations you've never been in and you may be unfamiliar with. Take the time to get yourself prepared. You know, Jan uses lots of lists. I use checklists for everything before I go on a trip. You think everything out beforehand, and you got to remember there is no photograph worth dying for. And it is so easy when you get into extreme environments or unfamiliar environments, you know, like you're on the top of a building that you're just not used to being up high. It's so easy to screw up, and the mistakes become much more riskier there. You know, if you drop a screw off of your tripod plate from a 400-foot high building, you could hurt somebody very seriously on the ground. If you go after it, somebody's definitely going to be hurt very seriously. So, you know, I mean, use everything you can at your disposal to be safe, you know, and if that means tying yourself into things, or, you know, going and taking a rock climbing class so you know how to harness yourself, or, you know, talking to your electrician friend if you know you're going to be around high voltage, and just get an idea of what you're in for. Try things out beforehand. Jan's idea of going into a freezer, you know, and spending 4 hours there just testing stuff is great. You know, if you're going to a cold environment, you want to know how your cameras are going to work. I found these hand warmers that Jan was talking about, the little, you know, packets you can buy. They're great because not only can you put them in your pockets and get your hands warm when they've been exposed to the cold air, you can also use gaffer's tape and tape them onto the battery of your camera, even if it's out. If you don't have one of those, you know, extension wires that goes into a battery in your pocket, put some of those around your battery while you're shooting. Or some people I've known have done, you know, if I was doing a time exposure, you know, all night time exposure in very cold, and you get ice forming on the lens overnight. Well, tape some hand warmers around the lens, you know, back behind the optics, and it will help keep the lens above freezing, even if you're shooting in 0 degrees. And, you know, these little tricks, these little things that you've tried beforehand, you've thought through, really help. Let me finish up here, and then we'll get some more questions. I have gotten into, I found myself spending so much time and money going to machine shops to have custom things made, you know, for my camera mounts, that I took a few classes on welding and machining, and I really got into it. It was kind of fun. And of course, unfortunately, it's very expensive to get all these tools, but I found a shop where I can work and I can go in and do stuff. So I have wound up building a lot of my own modifications to existing equipment. And I have some of them up here that allowed me to do things that you know, I'd either run into a problem or a challenge, but I figured out a way to not start from scratch, but to modify something that exists. And one of them, I know we've talked about shooting, you know, on the sides of cliffs and things like that, was a simple little plug that I put in a tripod leg. And it allows you to put a carabiner through it and then attach it to a wall. And you can put these in each one of your tripod legs. You can put another sling around here, and suddenly your tripod is hanging from a wall that way. Well, that's a kind of cool way to shoot. And you can either have the head, you know, sticking out like that, or you can tilt it up and do it that way. So think of the simple things that you can do, that, you know, you can do with a hand drill or whatnot, that might modify the equipment you have, that will help you get into positions that you need to be. I loved Ian's stand, the stand that he uses. And it's funny because I have the exact same stand. I bought it for a project that actually never happened, and so I haven't even used it. But it's the same idea. I just made some threaded, you know, threads on top that fit into the stand, and you can put a 3/8, you know, inch tripod head on it, or a 1/4 inch tripod head on it, and now you can spin it around from, you know, 12 feet high or whatever it is. His is cool because he put guy wires on it. I got to go home and do that now. You know? but think of the simple things. Go to your hardware store, your local hardware store, and spend an hour just looking around the hardware section. Say, oh, what could I do with that? Hey, I could, you know, it's a painter's pole. I could do something with that. Or it's a turntable mechanism. I love doing, I mean, I like going to hardware stores anyway, but I love doing that because you get ideas. And if you live in a major city or near one, there are usually some pro Photoshops around particularly the motion picture lighting shops, and just go in and browse. You know, they've got all these neat clamps that'll let you attach lights and stuff to you know, suspended ceilings, or to stick them in doorways and all. Well, you can put a thread on those and put a camera head, you know, a tripod head on there, and then you can shoot panoramas from cool positions. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Good, good, cool. Well, one of the things, and I'll show this real fast, those of you who've tried to shoot in national parks, how many were here in Washington, D.C. for the summit there? Well, in Washington now, if you go to a national monument and you want to shoot panoramas, you know, most of us use a tripod. They don't allow you to use a tripod unless you have a permit now. And I understand the reason for that. And a lot of the castles and things in Europe that you know, I've been to, they say, you put a tripod down, no, you got to leave. So there are a lot of regulations about that. They don't want you blocking the path of other people with tripod legs sticking out. There's a liability issue. I appreciate that, but it does sort of go overboard. So I decided, well, how could you do something that was not a tripod that was really a tripod, you know, that would work? And I figured, you know, all these canes that old people walk around with, you know, that they need, and I happen to have had foot surgery about 4 years ago, so I know what it's like to have a big old boot on the, you know. So I said, well, how about if I take the bottom of that, turn a tripod leg over, put it on top, and put a thread on top of it. Now I can walk in, you know, and then when I get inside, I can stick a head on this here, you know, because that's in my little fanny pack, and I can raise it up, you know, to here. I can, you know, and then I can just, okay, I'm done. And then, you know, somebody comes up and says, hey, excuse me, that's tripod. No, it's my cane. You know? Okay, it's a little sneaky, but, you know, it's like, so be creative, have fun. And I've got a bunch of things up here, you know, things I've modified that you're welcome to come look at. But, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. Caves. Yeah. Have you done caves? I love dark places because I love light painting. And how many of you know what light painting is? It's basically you set your camera on a tripod, and you open the lens for 30 seconds to 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then you walk around with a handheld strobe, and you fire a light here, and then you fire a light here, and you're painting with light in there. Okay, now they may not, in caves like that, you know, they want you on a certain path, but you can still aim from that path, and you know, put free blasts into that corner that's farther away to get a little more light, so you can have fun with it if you have the time in there. You still will need to mount your camera somewhere. You know, if there's a path that they put in there, you can just stick it right on the floor. They're pretty particular in protected areas like that about, you know, they don't want you to stick a little, you know, knife edge or something in the features. So be alert to that. And, you know, it's tough when you're a professional photographer and you're on vacation and you want to take pictures. You've got professional looking gear. And so the rangers or, you know, the people there say, hey, you need a permit, and that's going to be, you know, $250, and you need to get letters and all that. So try to look like a tourist, you know. If you're doing a real commercial shoot, go, you know, get the permit, do it right. But I find simpler is better. You know, the simplest I can keep my gear, the smallest and the most lightweight is better. Because I've even gone through airports, like Jan was saying now. If you've got 4 cases of gear and you're traveling alone, you can't go to the bathroom in an airport because you know, where are you going to leave your gear? You can't get it into the stall. So go light, go small, or go with somebody. You know, sometimes it's cheaper just to have an assistant come along and just pay for the extra overweight baggage. Anyone else? Anything?